Hey guys, that's right, it's time for another Pokemon. So as you saw in the footage right before this, we are creating Lunala today. And now this is actually by far the most requested model I have, along with the other legendary Pokemon from Sun and Moon, Solgaleo. And I will be doing Solgaleo as well at some point in the future, so stick around if you want to see him. But I want to talk about this model a little bit because I had an experience with this model that I haven't really had before. And this model was just kind of a train wreck from the beginning. I mean, for the record, I think it turned out pretty well. It definitely looks like Lunala, and I think it'll look really cool up on the shelf next to the other Pokemon. But let me just detail some of the things that went wrong while making this. Some of the things I couldn't help, other things I definitely could help. So if you design things as well, let this sort of be a lesson that we can both learn from my mistakes. So I've actually been getting into the bad habit lately of designing these things without really thinking of how they're going to be printed. I think about it a little bit in my mind as I'm designing it, but ultimately if I can't find a good solution for how it's going to be printed, I just go ahead with the model and then just worry about it later because support structures can save me, right? Well, as I found out with this model, that is not 100% the case because as you can see, it looks pretty normal from the front. But as I turn it to the side, it is almost paper thin. And so really the only way to improve that would either be scaling it in this direction, which obviously distorts a lot of the features, and it really affects the head, making that look disproportional. And then if I keep the head tiny and scale the body, it just didn't look right. So really my only option was making this model bigger to get a little more depth to this. And that's what I was planning on doing. But unfortunately, I was already running out of time with this model. It's a pretty detailed model, so it took me quite a while to make. And other just general life happened. So already on a time crunch, and then my printer decides to have some issues that I'd never run into before. So I had to spend a lot of time fixing those, yada, yada, yada. Excuses. So really, the biggest problem was I ran out of time with this. And that was just due to me running this channel like I do, that I want to put out a new model every week. It was getting to the point where I was not going to be able to do this within a week and get it to my wife with enough time to paint it and everything. So really what I should have done and what you can do to make your life a lot easier when designing things to 3D print, always keep printability in mind while you're modeling. Otherwise it's going to bite you in the butt sooner or later. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And then 2, don't give yourself crazy time restraints, but that's just kind of how I operate, and this time it did not work out very well. But ultimately, I was able to get this to print, albeit not as good as I wanted. I actually really wanted to pose this model in some sort of cool action type pose, having the wings bent in and appearing like it's attacking or something like that. But I actually tried to test print it like this on the bed and just have support structures meeting these tiny points all over. And to anyone who's used a 3D printer and supports, you know that that is just not a good equation because, you know, there's nothing really supporting it this way very much, and that's a lot of tiny little supports, a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong, which they did. So my first attempt, I did not use enough supports and it didn't print the way I wanted. The second attempt, I just decided to load this thing up with supports. When it was printing, it looked like one giant support. And I actually could not get the support pulled away from it without ruining the print. So I went back to the drawing board and I ended up laying it flat like this and just slicing it right in half. So you can actually see the seam right along the edge there. But I printed it in 2 halves, barely needed support. The only parts that needed support were the little fingers here, but those printed just fine. And then my printer decided to be a butthead, and it was having a weird issue. For some reason, it was printing fine when I set it to 0.3 millimeter layer height, but when I set it to 0.1, it was just jamming, wouldn't extrude anything. And at the time, I was just like, this makes 0 sense. It turns out I had some filament jammed, and then the 0.3 eventually stopped working as well. But long story short, I ended up printing these at 0.3 millimeter layer height. And as you can see, very, very thin. So there's actually not many layers here, especially since I had to split it in half. So it is very flimsy, the lines are very apparent. This is just not a good quality thing. So definitely if you're printing this, print it at the highest resolution you can because it will benefit greatly from that. And then as usual with most of my prints, bigger is better. And with the files, I will be including the split files that I printed, so you can print it like this without needing many supports. And I will include the full model if you want to take a crack at splitting it up, or if you think you've got a support system that will handle this better. So given all of that, I don't think it turned out that bad. My wife still did an amazing job painting it using her usual techniques. I felt bad because there's a lot of tiny details that didn't come out very well, but she still did amazing. And I'm just treating this as a learning experience. I'm actually going to do a video here pretty soon on when things go wrong when you're trying to design things. So I guess that's silver linings. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this and can get some sort of benefit from learning from my mistakes. And maybe leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your biggest fail when printing something was, especially if you designed the piece yourself. Or if you don't have any good epic fails. First, I don't believe you. But second, maybe share the craziest thing that you didn't think would print but did print. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about that. Alright guys, if you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, get subscribed. And then I will leave you as we find a home for this on my new display cases back here. Alright, so we have to keep it with the Pokemon, so I think I'm just going to set it back in the corner back here. Try and get it to stand up. I think that looks pretty good. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.